for and with. This is someone who is known throughout music, throughout the business world, as someone who always has worked hard continuously, is extremely smart, and extremely generous. The co-founder and CEO of 300 Entertainment needs no introduction on the business that he has accomplished. If you know anything about music, if you know anything about artists and careers, you are very well versed in who Kevin Liles is. But I would like to speak to who the man is. This is someone who pulled me to the side and said, success means nothing if you aren't helping people. And so this is a person who has a heart, not about just making a business grow and making money, but about growing people, about mentoring, guiding, and helping people continue to be the best that they can be. I have had the privilege of being mentored by him. I've had the privilege of being taught by him, and I have the privilege to have learned about what it means to be successful, and that is to be helping others and ensuring that you are creating a mentoring program and guiding people into the business. And so I am so honored here to introduce the one, the only Kevin Liles, who will be in conversation with the great Kobe Cole. I hope you all enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. And by the way, Jason, the Philadelphia 76ers have not been the same since you left. So welcome, everybody. And hello, Arlinda. Thank you for having us here. And, you know, this is a really cool opportunity to talk to Kevin, because I'm going to give you a word. And this word is sort of like the theme of our conversation, but really it's the theme of right now. And that word is reinvention. And we are in a period of reinvention. And Arlinda being able to say, all right, well, I do this conference every year. I bring all these cool people together in Atlanta. We have great conversations. We network, we eat, we hang out. And we weren't able to physically do it this year, but I'm going to reinvent this conference and make it virtual so that we can still share the knowledge and still communicate. So reinvention is really what Kevin Liles is all about, because he's someone who we basically, what you're going to get between me and Kevin are we're the same age. We literally started at the same time. And I was able to watch him grow. He was able to watch me grow. So I have a really good viewpoint of Kevin Liles' career from watching it in the beginning. So what's more interesting about you, Kevin, is that you have touched every aspect of the business. So when I first met Kevin, he was an artist. And I had to go, Kevin, today, and I had to go look up the Newmark stuff on YouTube and listen to it and hear you do your verses. Because my man Kevin used to rhyme, because he's a child of hip hop, like I'm a child of hip hop. And the first time I met Kevin was, he was opening up for Frank Ski, who was an artist, who had a song called Doo Doo Brown that was like huge. And the first big city to really embrace outside of Baltimore, where all this energy was coming from Kevin's hometown, was Philadelphia. And he came to Philadelphia and he opened up for Frank Ski. And I was hosting the event, and I had a hip hop show, and he knew who I was, because he always knows his homework and knows people. And he said, man, I need to do an interview on your show. And he came back to Philadelphia to do an interview. So Kevin Liles has been an artist. He then transitioned to the record side. He transitioned to an entry-level position at a label, Def Jam, the iconic Def Jam label. A kid from Baltimore gets to go to become a regional. He was my regional in Philadelphia. So again, I watched him grow. He then goes to New York and he goes up the executive ladder at Def Jam, rising to president at a time when Def Jam was reinventing itself as a label. So again, that word reinvention is so important to everybody that can see us, because you're going to face moments in your life where you think everything is going great, and all of a sudden you hit a wall and you got to figure out, how do I get out of this? How do I move on? And Kevin, you are a prime example of someone who has done that. He walked away from the label, went into artist management. Remember, he used to be an artist, and started managing some of the biggest artists in the world. And then he comes together with some other folks to create a label, 300. You see the logo behind me. 300 has been one of the most important labels in our business. It has birthed Migos. It has birthed Megan Thee Stallion. It has birthed Young Thug. I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest names in music. Again, Kevin Liles, Reinvention. So welcome, Kevin. I'm glad that we can get you. I know you're a busy guy. Glad to get you off the golf course for a few minutes so we can have a conversation. But man, we're so thankful to have you here today and so appreciative of you and your level of a career that you've had and the success that you've had to be able to share knowledge. So welcome, man.
Thank you for having me, Alinda, Love. And I just want to take a moment to say the whole Larry Kahn like testimonial. You know, I always say we got to find our way, nurture a way, and we got to know when to get out of the way. And getting out of the way is not retiring; it's actually empowering somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that man, it just touched my soul. To hear someone who understands what our responsibility is. And after 3 decades of being in the business, reinvention and evolution are necessary unless you want to become distinct. You know what I mean? So the reality of we had a lot of people in our industry who fall by the wayside, a lot of artists who fall just because they don't know where they are in their life and their career, and really what their responsibility is. I never got into this industry to be one thing. I got into this industry to serve. So if you need me to drive, I'll drive. If you need me to be a passenger, get gas, sit in the back, navigate, whatever was necessary at that particular time. And yes, no matter what my title says, I'm truly just a servant of our culture.
So Kevin, so you're a kid, you're growing up in Baltimore, Maryland, one of the toughest cities in the world, man. I mean, if you can make it through Baltimore, you can do anything. Right. And you're an artist. And let's talk a little bit about the artist transition to working for a label. Where did that come from? Because you had a passion to be an artist. I remember talking to you. You were just like, this is it. You had your whole vision played out. And then you switched to the label side. Talk about that transition.
Well, you know, some people have heard the story, but I really believe that the music business and hip hop especially saved my life. You know, growing up in the street, I felt like I wanted to be a service in a bigger way, and the only way I could do it is if I added more tools to my toolbox. So rapping to me wasn't about fame, wasn't about stardom. It was about a way out. You know what I mean? And to me, when I heard Sucker MC, I lost my mind. You know what I mean? I felt like, damn, no makeup, no feathers going anywhere, none of that. They look like me. They dress like me. Yeah. And so it made me want to be, an artist in particular in that sense. And Newmarks was a big DJ group anyway, and we started rapping and, you know, put out a couple of records. And then the whole Girl, You Know It's True thing happened that I actually sold 100,000 copies, actually opened up for LL and Run DMC and Salt and Pepper and Raw Bass and blah, blah, blah. But somebody stole the record. I forgot what year it was, and they Milli Vanilli, and they sold 18 million copies of the record. So it was at that moment that I knew that being a rapper was a hobby, because if somebody could take my record and do it better than me, maybe I don't need to be in the music business. Maybe I need to learn the business of music. And God rest his soul, Wes Johnson used to play my records as an artist, and he was now the senior vice president of marketing and promotions for Def Jam. And I remember, I don't know if it was Impact Conference or one of those conferences, I went up to Wes. I said, Wes, I've been through all this. I know I'm ready to serve. He said, well, Kev, won't you intern? Now, you got to understand something. Scholarship, electrical engineering at Morgan State. I'm already working in a marketing company. I'm already a rapper traveling the world and the whole nine. Somebody just stole my song, 18 million copies, sued. So like, I didn't know what intern meant. So I said, intern. That means you make no money. And he said, yeah, but you know, you get to intern. And it was at that moment in my life that it clicked, that I had to reinvent myself again. I had to humble myself enough to say, there's obviously something I need to learn, because it didn't fully work out. It kickstarted, but it didn't fully work out like I planned it. And so I went to be of service as an intern. And that to me, that one moment in my life that someone stole a record of mine, and I had no idea how it could happen, made me say, I don't want to be in the music business. I want to be in the business of music.
So you make that transition, and for those that are watching, you know, internship, it's now it's interns get paid now, you know, but we come from an era where like we did it for the passion, you know, to just to be able to get that door open to you that you could walk in and see how things work and take mental notes and then connect with powerful people that are doing things that can teach you and show you the business. You can't buy that anywhere. So you get your internship and you do get start rising up the ranks with Def Jam. So as a kid, Def Jam was really the iconic hip hop label. You were a hip hop artist. Your song was stolen. You sued, and thankfully you were able to sue and get some of that money. But you then work at the most iconic hip hop label in history, at a very pivotal time in that label's history, because it was really just exploding and then not being so hot anymore and having to reinvent itself. And you are a part of that process. So talk about working at Def Jam and what were some of your great experiences at that label?
Well, you know, I remember in Baltimore with a club called 4604 that we opened up for LL Cool J. And all hell broke loose in the club, and so we all you know, got up to the dressing room, and you know, Todd was like, well, LL was like, man, y'all crazy down here in Baltimore. And I had to tell him, yo, there's some of my friends got into a fight, you know what I mean? And so you know, the guns come out and everything, but we cool up here. And from that to Run DMC to, you know, a Public Enemy to all of, they knew me as an artist. You know what I mean? Whenever they came to Philly, you know, Baltimore, Virginia, I would, you know, be the guy that's opening, you know, for them. So everybody knew me, and they had a relationship, and they knew that I knew how I wanted to be treated. So my internship was about treat people like you want to be treated. You know, work harder than everybody else. Show your value proposition every single day. And I looked at the landscape of the label, and at that time we were going through reinvention. But I always remember seeing Russell sitting on the Bentley with a HBCU hoodie on. And they said the man who turned the hip hop business into $36 million label, and I just said, oh, that's a black man that really comes from a place that I come from. I want to be of service to him, and it was his dream and his vision and Leor's vision that I signed on to. Never wanted to be them, but wanted to understand their footsteps and wanted to understand that I couldn't come into a place that was so iconic and not bring something different. And I tell people my engineering taught me the theory of things, and there's no one way to get to some way, and you have to look at the landscape and find out if nobody's making a coffee, make the best damn coffee. If nobody's getting the Adidas for a discount, get the Adidas for a discount. If nobody's picking up the luggage, pick up the luggage. And to me, I had a business acumen because of the engineering that I said, I want to be the first person in the office. And every time I would come in a little bit earlier, Leo would come in a little bit more than me, until we got to around like 7 o'clock. And I said, yo, at the end of the day, I'm gonna keep coming in earlier. Why don't we just make 8 o'clock the time we're gonna come into the office? And we wanted to treat it like a business. And it's something that I learned from radio. Radio never went off the air.
Nope. It
was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So who am I to allow Def Jam to ever go off the air? You know, we had to adapt to a system where it exploded to a point where everybody wanted to be at the party. And I remember clearly that I never wanted to be at the party. I never wanted to be the party. You know, I wanted to understand who was at the party, why were they at the party, and who was actually throwing the party, because obviously they were making the money at that particular time. And I wanted to set up an infrastructure at Def Jam that was of service. And so, you know, general manager promotions, they made up titles for me, sent me out to the West Coast to open up the West Coast office at Def Jam West at that particular time, came back to New York, hiring people. And this is at the time where I had Thomas Artel as my boss. I had Johnny Walker as my boss, and I had Wes Johnson as my boss.
Wow.
And Wes pulled me to the side and said, you know, you're the one. Now, I don't know what any of this means. He said, they're making up titles for you. They're moving things around. He said, you know, I'm gonna leave, the company's in your hands, you know, right now. Again, in Larry Kahn fashion, you know, Wes said, you know, allow me to be a resource to you at that particular time. So I had people that were my boss that really weren't reporting to me, but kind of were reporting to me in that particular case, until they named me president and CEO of the company, I think in 97, 98. You know, what was funny was they asked me in 96 to be president. And I said, I'm not ready to be president. I don't have enough tools in my toolbox. I don't know the world. I can't influence people in France and Germany and London. And so I turned it down. And it was time after time until Russell said, fuck that. You know what I mean? All the artists come into your office. Everybody tells me how good you are. And Leo was like, you know, you're going to be the president of Def Jam. And just, and now I sit and think about it. And, you know, when I wrote the book and talked about, you know, my come up in the whole thing, I never wanted to be president. I just wanted to be the best at what I could do and serve in that particular way. But when you are the best at what you do, God rewards you in so many ways. And he rewarded me with having great angels and bumpers around my life, and rewarded me with an opportunity to serve a culture in a way that wasn't, you know, when we wasn't as hot on records, in comes Def Comedy Jam, in comes Fat Farm, in comes The Show, in comes Nutty Professor. It just all these things kept coming. And even through that time, we had Death Row and we had Bad Boy, and they were two different personalities in that particular case. And so we all sat in a room, and Leo said, who are we, what are we, why are we? And we coined this phrase that we're AMCO. You know, we're the ones who can put on our overalls and get in the car and change the oil. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be the guys that work harder than everybody, that think harder, be more creative than everybody. And that, to me, is what separated ourselves during that time. You know, trust me, anybody's listening, you will be cold. Yeah, it's not a question. You will question the relevancy and that whole thing sometime in your career. But if you stick to what you do best, and if you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, that want to do what they do best, and as you grow as a leader, you know, I got a saying now in my company, I don't want to run the company, I want the company to run. And so if the company runs, then I could be a better resource to them and take out my machete and chop down all the trees and the obstacles for them to be greater at what they do. So it was a time, I tell people, I got my bachelor's from Def Jam, and it taught me everything about the culture, everything about leadership, everything about, you know, again, I never was the head of black music, or the bifurcated to only doing, my mandate was, if you played my records, if you showed my videos, I'm working your station. Never had working with the channel, I never had any bifurcation of, you know, we had one of the first African-American rhythm people ever in Mike Kaiser. You know, he actually called the stations and oh shit, here's Onyx Slam. It becomes one of the biggest, you know, records. So God, again, you put people in the right places, and he's going to continue to remind you and reward you of why you're there.
So just to give people a little bit of history lesson. So when you got to Def Jam, you know, you got to think about just the heyday of hip hop. So you got Public Enemy, who was just one of the biggest groups in the world. You got LL Cool J, the first sex symbol in rap, and just really at the beginning of Def Jam. You've got EPMD, you get Warren G, and then the label gets a little bit cold. And then you guys do the Rockefeller deal. And after the Rockefeller deal, you do the deal with Rough Riders, and then you do Murder Inc. So you talk about Bad Boy and Death Row. You basically got 3 big labels, and New York was kind of cold at the time, and you really brought New York back. So talk a little bit about those deals, specifically buying half of Rockefeller after their first album, Reasonable Doubt, and bringing them over to Def Jam. That has to be one of the biggest, most epic deals in the history of hip hop.
Well, listen, I again, I knew people in the street, you know what I mean? And you know, I remember Irv, you know, Irv was one of the first, Irv Gotti was one of the first, how can I say, foundations of that period of Def Jam, because he was a kid that he told J. Damon Biggs, yo, if you want your record played on radio, you got to go see my man Kevin Liles.
Right.
Some way he does it, and I'm telling them, yo, it's not me, it's Wes. You know what I mean? I know, and so
Right.
they come to my office, and I'm listening, and I'm like, yo, how you need to be with us, yo. You need to. And I remember they said, no, we just came to give you this bag of money to help us get our record play. I said, you know, I don't need that. But by the way, guys, there's a soundtrack we got called Nutty Professor that I heard you and Foxy did this record called Ain't No, and you guys should rock out with us, you know, on it. And that was the beginning of that, how can I say, partnership with them and the actual venture. And you know, Irv had Ja Rule and DMX and Ashanti, and then you know, Rough Riders came, and Disturbing the Peace with Ludacris came, and then we had Def Jam West, Warren G, Domino, everything, and it just all started to click again. And one of the things that, again, we said if we AMCO, then we got to be able to service all kinds of cars. So whether it was the Maybachs, you know, the Wrangler Jeeps or the Toyotas, we had a whole mixture of people and different personalities. And I look at it to have all those labels, and it was a lot of egos. So when DMX sold 4 million copies, and Jay did Hard Knock Life, and then Ludacris came and said, no, I'm gonna join and sell 4 million, then Ja Rule did that, then Ashanti did 500,000 the first week. And you know, then what was it? It was Nutty Professor. It was what was the other thing? Rush Hour. When all those things came, it was that time again. But it wasn't about us at Def Jam. You know, it was really about now giving people the opportunity to be entrepreneurs and back in their dreams and visions. And I will always go down in history of saying that at that point in time in Dame's career, brilliant guy. I really loved his brand. Irv, brilliant, loved his brand, did everything for it. And I truly believe that they were, if they would have kept on the road that they were on building their companies, I think they would be some of the greatest executives to exist right now. So shout out to both of them. But you know, if you pull the pillar off, you're not talking about when DMX came, he took the shiny and made it dark again.
Yeah.
When Ludacris came, he was the honest lyrical rapper. Oh shit, you put Redman and Method Man together and you do Month of the Man. Oh, we do the show. So all these things just started to happen, and hip hop continued to explode, but still bifurcated from the corporate structure. Oh, that's them over there. That's them right there. That's a subsidiary of it. And it wasn't until the Island Def Jam merger and when Leo took over the chairmanship that we really started to influence not just the culture and the label, but the music industry as a whole.
Yeah. So then you go through years of success. I mean, the Def Jam story is tremendous. And then you leave the label because the labels go through transitions, and Leo left first. And then you end up over at Atlantic. So talk a little bit about that transition and leaving Def Jam after all those years. What was it like in that moment for you?
Well, so I'm gonna keep it funky because I think Arlinda appreciate this, and Kobe, I know you appreciate it. When Leo left, LA, Doug Morris had brought LA in, and so you had, you know, I had the house, the keys to the house, but they gave LA the house. And I'd been there, built everything, the whole nine. And LA was like, Kev, you know, I need you, man. You know, don't, you know. I said, yo, we got this. Let's rock out. But I'm never going to allow corporate to put us in a position where it's your team against my team, and that doesn't work to me. And white executives can get together and exist, and we should be able to do the same thing. But I'm not going to allow people to put us in a position that there's infighting in the organization. I love the label too much, and I will do that. So I'm going to make sure that we're good. You know, we get Jeezy. You know what I mean? Oh shit, okay, we're good. We got everybody. And then there was a time that I said, you know, here's the keys to the house. You know, I think my time is done. I've done everything. And literally at that period of time, I was about to be out. What better job than I had than the president and CEO of Def Jam? I never felt like I worked a day in my life. I never really felt I had a boss. Russell and Leah always called me a partner. When we sold the company, we still own the brand, and each of us owned a piece of the brand. So I never felt like I worked, and I started to feel like I was working. And I just won't do that in my life in any instance. I'm not gonna work, and I have to own what I'm working for. So we sold, so now I'm employed, and I didn't know how to be an employee because I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it.
Right.
So me and LA had a real conversation, and there was so much love and respect for what he did in his career and I did in my career, that I just felt like, you can't be cultural and have a situation where, there's two people that people looking to, and when you need one voice, and that was another reinvention period. And the reason we were able to reinvent that time because Leo gave me the rock. So I felt it was important that I gave LA the rock, and again, found a way, nurtured a way, made sure it was good, but got out of the way. And I went and hugged some trees and thought about the industry and thought about what I wanted to do, and I was literally going to do something else, but the industry kept calling me, and I realized that even to this day, maybe it's what God wanted me to do, but I might have left a void in mentorship and African American leadership at a place that needed more, especially in the era of where we were going. So in I think 2004, I said that I'm out, and I get a call from Edgar Brofman and say, I heard you're not at Def Jam anymore. I said, yeah. He said, well, I want to make you the executive vice president of all the Warner Music Group. Come over here, Lear can't talk to you, and Lear's my friend, but we couldn't talk business because of the non-competes and the whole thing. Yeah. And I went there and became executive vice president of Warner Music Group, and that's where I got my master's in the music business, because it didn't become just about what I was doing, but how I could help the organization as a whole around the world be more tasteful and respectful of a culture that would eventually dominate the globe.
Talk a little bit about giving back too, because you do so much that people don't know about. But as you attained wealth in the music business, you continuously give of your time and energy and financials. I mean, there's a stadium in Baltimore. There's a lot that you do for the HBCUs. Talk about why you do that. What's the spirit in you to do that?
Comes from Russell saying to me, with success comes responsibility. And I know if I don't continue to be a beacon of light and continue to give of myself, I'm not going to inspire the next Kevin Liles or the next Kobe Cole or the next Arlinda or the next, Raina Bass. You're not going to inspire those, because they're not going to see somebody like them. They're going to see somebody that wants to use them for their skill set, the color of their skin, to navigate through the culture, but you're not going to see that person. So I took it, charity to me is a way to actually be humbled and be grounded, because you can be so successful that you lose touch in reality. You know what I mean? And it brings up a thing that I told the company during this period of time of COVID. Guys, some of us have houses, some of us have a couple of houses, some of us have big backyards, but then there's that person who just moved to New York to work for $300, and they living in a 700 square foot apartment.
Right.
What is COVID to them? They by themselves. You can never forget that you were there one time. And so I never want to forget whether it's, building a stadium or having a street named after me, or sitting on the board of Success Academy, a charter school, or Seed School in Maryland, or raising money with Morgan State. You just can never forget. And it humbles me, because I was a recipient of a Nassau scholarship for electrical engineering. That's how I got into electrical engineering. So God reminds me every time when I do give, I get something so big in return. And that's why there's many ways of philanthropy. And I tell people, you can't come to me and say, we want to donate something from 300 without you being on the front line. And so by teaching people to be humble enough to know that there's somebody else trying to do what you did. I just make it a way of life, and it's not just my way of life. All the 55 people at our company, they made it their way of life. That, you know, understanding that, you know, with success, appreciate the journey and the whole thing, but it comes with a lot of responsibility, and the biggest responsibility is to give back.
So after you leave Warner Music Group and had tremendous success over there, you guys broke a lot of records just like you did at Def Jam. You decided to get into artist management. Talk a little bit about making that transition, and then you start representing some of the artists that you put on. So how did that come about?
Evolution, you know, and we can reinvention. And that was 2009. So that's 11 years ago. And at that particular time, I was done. No, and I'm telling people stuff for the first time now. I was done. It's like, what else? You know, I played for the Bulls, had 6 championships, had some of the biggest artists in the world. What else could I do? You know what I mean? And what else was next for me? You know what I mean? Owned a piece of the Warner Music Group, took it private and public. You know, what was necessary for me to do? And I had to do some deep soul searching, you know, around it. And so I didn't leave because I had to leave. I left because at that particular time, I felt like God was calling me to do something else. And some people know that I toyed with maybe running for office. Some people know that I gave myself to the Lord and talked about ministering and things. But the artist community just kept calling me. And I remember Trey hit me one day and said, yo, I'm getting rid of my manager. What do you think I should do? I said, get another manager. That's where you got to find somebody. I said, oh, right. But your manager used to intern to me. One of my first interns, Delonte Murphy, used to intern for me. He was one of my first interns as a regional down in Hampton. And I said, well, let me talk to him, see if I can figure it out. And he said, no, I ain't gonna be able to figure it out. I said, all right, well, here's what I want you to do. Go around to every management company and then come back to me and talk to me about what you see, how you see it, the whole nine. And he said to me, yo, I want a manager. I don't want somebody worried about commissions. I want somebody that understand. I don't have the greatest relationship with my father, so I need somebody to be in my life. And I remember getting a call from his mom, and April said to me, "You know, my son looks up to you. He was at your street naming. He know you wasn't at Atlantic, but you kind of, you know, was right. Like the guy." You know, for them, and he doesn't want anybody else. And so as a mom, as a mother raising 2 sons, could you do this for me? That's the only reason I got into management. only reason I got into management. And then from that, all my old crew start calling me, you know what I mean? And, you know, Big Sean comes, and Ty Dolla $ign comes, and Jeezy comes, and Nelly comes. Oh shit, Mariah calls. And then right. I end up having 12, oh shit, D'Angelo. I mean, I just started to get all these calls. And so I started to build a big management business, not out of something that I wanted to do, but out of a necessity that, you know, you have an artist. And again, we're starting to get into the do-it-yourself mode. We're starting to get into, oh, we're getting rid of street teams because the internet's coming. Oh, we're not the nuances. We're going into volume. And so I always believe in artist development. So I believe what better position than to put a CEO next to a brand. And so I looked at it like, okay, cool. So D'Angelo, you're the CEO, I'm the COO. And we have a board of directors, you're a lawyer, I brought business and structure to the management space. And I started to have fun again. And because I felt like I was reinventing, I was evolving a space in the management space to level set it to say, hey, you know, we don't have to depend on anybody but ourselves. I'm knowledgeable enough that if I walk into any building, what's the head of promotion going to tell me? What's the president going to tell me? What's That's the chairman? What they really going to say to me other than, Kevin, what do you want to do? You know,
right.
How can we help you? Right. And I had some great partners with labels, and I think they're necessary, but they're even going through a part of a reinvention. And that was a whole management thing. And even when we started 300, the funny part about it, we actually moved into my office, the KWO office, as we started to grow before we got our own space. And then everything happened with Fetty Wap, and I realized that it was necessary for me to go back to work in a culture because, once again, I had to reinvent myself.
Well, it's interesting you said this because I remember Trey Songz just on Atlantic and just kind of getting started. And I remember that transition from whoever was managing him to you, because he was like $10,000-$15,000 show guy. You had got him to like $125,000 show guy. I remember because I would try to book him and I couldn't afford him anymore. But also he was opening up for Jay-Z. I mean, he just became like his career exploded. So there was definitely something that you added to that mix that most managers could not do. And now let's get to 300 because you brought up Fetty Wap and that was such an amazing success story. So talk about you and Lior and just the coming together and your third partner of just 300. What did 300 stand for and what was the essence of this company?
Well, this was Lior calling me and saying, let's do it again. And I'm like, let's do what? The business is going south, he said, I really believe if we come together that we can build a very special place. I said, yo, but I got a big management company. He said, listen, I just want you to be a partner. I'm gonna be the CEO, but I need your knowledge and need your influence with the culture. And so we started, and some of the artists we had at the beginning, whether it was Raz Simone, Mike Stud, what's the guy? I don't even remember. Like it's been 7 years now,
Right.
And then the whole QC situation happened, and shout out to Coach and P for allowing us to serve them. And Migos went from being in the club to making Bad and Bougie. The opportunity came for us to be in business with Young Thug. Opportunity came for us to sign this kid out of Paterson, New Jersey, named Fetty Wap. And nobody knew, really what it was. But we one thing we know it's about artist development. And so any of these artists, we always said, let's focus on being creative. Let's focus on being very attentive to not just putting music out and see what happens, but making sure we're placing it right, visual right, everything similar to what we did at Def Jam. And then Fetty Wap became the most streaming rap artist in 2016. 6 different records exploded. You couldn't, you just couldn't get away. Old Migos, Old Thug, it just started to get into a place. And Leah and I had a conversation in 2016. YouTube Music wanted to need somebody to run actual, their music initiatives because they had a very tumultuous relationship with the music industry. And we sat down and said, we don't have a technology tool in our toolbox. So won't you go rock out, knock that out for them, and I'll downsize my management company and actually work more than a partner and actually run the company with you, and the rest is history. Oh, here comes Megan. Oh, here comes Gunna. Oh, YSL starts. Oh, it's just so I can't tell you why God did it, but He put us in a position. And I want to say this for everybody. Remember, I said I'm willing to play whatever position. So playing a partner position is different from being a CEO. I never wanted to be the CEO because I was at a different point in my life. But Google, one of our biggest investors, wanted Leo to do something. We thought it would be great. He moves. One of the partners leaves. Oh, now I have to be the CEO of the company. And I looked around and I said, this company wasn't built on one person, and it will never be built on one person. And so whether Leo's here, I'm here, I have to figure out how we get everybody invested in taking personal ownership, in the company. And I spent the year on stabilization. in the company. You know, Leo's a big figure. You know what I mean? So people sign because of him, because of me, because of Salim and the other great A&R team. And so he leaves. We didn't lose one artist. The employees that we did lose were choices of ours. You know, right. to again press reset, evolve as a label, the whole nine, and we doubled our revenue, doubled our EBITDA, and you know now they just put it out that you know we became the the number one U.S. independent label in the country, and that didn't happen by happenstance. You know, we stabilization, then sustainability, and then the third year was a growth year, and all those things I wouldn't have known about if I didn't study electrical engineering and didn't study how to properly rebuild an organization and get back to reinvent our value proposition to 300.
Well, you have been able with 300 to not only just carve out your lane, but have these humongous success stories out of nowhere. What is it that you all do differently as a label in regards to finding and cultivating talent that can produce 5 multi-platinum acts in such a short amount of time?
I ask myself that every time. What makes 300 different from any label? Again, you all got marketing service, promotion services, digital services. You all got distribution. So every day I say, what's our value proposition? What makes us different? And it really comes down to the people. It strictly comes down to having the right people. And again, Young Kev, it was all about the logo. New Kev, it's all about the people who, if they take ownership in the vision and challenging themselves every day, what does marketing look like today? What does digital marketing look like today? What does A&R look like today? And my team questions this every single time and keeps the artist development as a key factor. And so we were not just putting out records, we were developing brands. And, you ask me that and I say, entrepreneurship is in my DNA, independence is in my DNA, freedom is in my DNA, artist development is in my DNA. And I don't hire without it being in their DNA. And that's what makes us different. It's the actual DNA specificity of every single person that works at 300.
So, Kevin, let's talk a little bit about the music industry today. Mm-hmm. Hip hop music, the music that we love, is now the premier music in the business. Mm-hmm. However, what's keeping the lights on for the music business due to streaming is hip hop. However, the labels don't look like the artists or the culture creators behind the scenes that are making it happen. Talk about the diversity issue within the music business, and just your thoughts on the direction right now in light of everything that's been happening in the world.
Well, I think you got to look at not just in music, it's in business. There's not enough representation of people of color, and I personally think it's intentional. I personally think that whatever corporation you work in, you have a responsibility. If you get to a certain point, like people know with me, I say what the fuck I want to say. I call it some white shit, I call it some black shit, I'll call it whatever it is at that particular time, just to make sure people understand it and always question, Kev, you can't talk about why it shouldn't be called urban, or how it came from R&B, from black music, from race music, without knowing how it all happened. And now you have the responsibility of actually having the number one music in the world. Yep. And you owe it to everyone. You owe it to everyone to not allow people to check the box. And so to me, by creating 300, it was one of the responsibilities that I felt. I can't go out here and say, hey, you don't check the box, and not looking at my box. And so my executive team, 50% are women. My leadership is 50% African people of color. And so I have it in-house. So now you can check right. my statistics when I go talk to you about how come you owned about a company that only has zero people of color on their board? How come you look at and there's only one Sylvia Rohn inside, or Jeff Halston inside of with a powerful position, but you're claiming to have hip hop music at the foray, and it's the #1 music in the world. You're not doing our culture any responsibility, and it's why I'm still in the business to this day, because I don't think my job has been done. I think I got a lot more people to do, and if I have to go build another music group and make it multicultural, make it look like us, be like us, act like us, and this is not a black thing to me. You know what I mean? This is a cultural thing. If I have to do that along with my partners, then that's what we'll do, because I can't sit on the sideline having the #1 music in the world and it not look like us in senior leadership.
And just a side note, I mean, I remember walking into Def Jam offices in the late 80s, early 90s, and before COVID hit, I literally saw you in your office in March, and it was the same feeling of just the people, the energy, the vibe. You had a mix of everybody around, and that is why you all are successful. I mean, you walk it and talk it. You have the kind of folks around you that can actually go into the Bronx, can go into South Philly, can go into West Baltimore and find those great artists and bring them to the forefront, and then have that success. So that is part of it. But let's talk a little bit about COVID, because here we are again, man. We're in a real transitional place in America, in the world, right? We're all dealing with a pandemic for the first time in our lifetimes. We used to read about stuff like this, and it has completely changed our way of life and how we operate. You haven't been back in the office since March, right? We're all working remotely. We're doing this Zoom conference. Talk to the people that are watching right now, many of whom are artists that are trying to get in the game. What's the game now because of COVID? I mean, the show business part of it, hitting the clubs and the appearances and talents and performing and all that has just been shut down. So what should an artist be looking for and doing right in this moment?
Well, I'll take you through a couple of steps. So the first thing that I had to do, and I remember I was fighting myself. Do we close the office? Do we not close the office? And this was before the governor said anything, before anything. And I thought to myself, I have 55 people that look for leadership and guidance, young, wiser people. And every day I allowed them to come into the office, using public transportation. I put them at risk. I not only put them at risk, I put their families at risk. Yeah. And on my watch, I was not going to allow the 55 people or their extended family to be infected, because I wanted to have people come to an office building. So before anybody, I actually just said, listen, we're going to work remotely. But God worked in a very mysterious way, because a year before that, we were renovating our offices. And so we had people working remotely already. They already, were in the sense we would have 2 meetings a week, and they would come to this one communal place, and we would do things, and then people were working remotely. So we were prepared at the particular time to be remote and work remote. And one of the challenges that I said was, outside of being we have to humanize our business. So my decisions were based not as the CEO of 300, but as a human being, because I also was putting myself at risk in my family every single day. And, we spoke, Larry spoke about balance, and I challenged everybody. I said, listen, we're living our biblical times right now. When God told Noah, and when he had Moses split the Red Sea, they were casualties. But people made it to the other side. We have to have such a resilient mindset as 300 to get through these biblical times. Oh shit, here comes police brutality. Clear everybody. Oh, there's a heightened sense of what it is to be African American in America today. So all these issues we're dealing with, and we're still remotely. We're still remote. So I'm telling people, you know what? The best thing that we can do now is search within ourselves to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better marketer, to be a better friend, to communicate more, to get to know your better self. And if all of us become better during this COVID period, during this particular time, and understanding that there has to be a value proposition to those creators and the live music segment, and we have to provide opportunities for them. And here comes 300 Creates, here comes 300 Studio, here comes Unplugged, here comes Sign of the Times, and all these things that we were doing. It wasn't about marketing records. It was about instilling a responsibility that even though you are remotely, you still have to remember creativity cannot be quarantined. You have a job and responsibility to yourself. And so as I started to humanize the business and tell people, I'm not afraid for us. We're gonna come back to work after Labor Day. And then I made the call and said, you know what, no, we're not coming back until December. No, we're not coming back to January. And now I'm not sure when we're gonna come back, because until I can assure that my 55 people will be safe, will be confident in the testing and the vaccine and all the things, I can't risk somebody's life for money. Can't do it. And so now we're opening up a little bit, not as an office space, but we're having people, we shut down travel, shut down everything. Now we're having people actually be able to travel and quarantine themselves and go through the processes. But it's because they're looking at their life as human beings. Now, I don't force anybody to get on a plane or nope, not doing it. We have enough people around the world to actually cover what we need to cover, but even artists aren't traveling as much right now. So I believe COVID has made us a more resilient, stronger company. It raised our awareness on who we are as people. And again, that is what makes 300 special. Never checking a box, always questioning ourselves and our value proposition to our partners, our investors, and our artists.
So where does the business go though? I mean, in general, just for the general person trying to get on, what do you suggest to them? How do they operate in this environment?
The new street is the internet. You can't, you find, like you used to find the Kobe Cobes and the DJ Rands and all the guys that came up with me, the Flexes, whether it's the Tunnel, you got to find that space on the internet right now. Yeah. And then once you find that space on the internet, you got to super serve it. You got to make sure that you understand whether it's Vlad TV or whether it's my guy Linked Up in the UK, or whether it's Complex, and these digital things or influencers that may have influence. You got to look at TikToks of the world and all these assets that are really like, making the internet the new street, and do it yourself and not depend on somebody to do something for you, but to utilize it as a resource for you to learn the business in a way. I knew the appreciation of an internship, the appreciation of being an artist. Again, I knew what I needed to do no matter what situation I was put in. So we're not writing on graffiti walls, we're writing on Facebook walls. We're not handing out flyers right now. We got Twitter and Instagram. We're not doing bit. We're doing YouTube. It's all the same thing. It just changed the mentality of what. It's not just radio playlists. It's DSP playlists right now. What makes the programmer of a DSP different from a radio programmer? To me, it's like, so I just make sure people are able to understand the landscape and then attack it with the same vigilance that they attacked it if it was live music happening right now. If we could go and market and promote to the clubs and everything, and we're relentless at that. And also, it's challenged us to be extra creative. You got 30,000 songs being uploaded. I don't know if it's up to 50, 60,000 songs being uploaded weekly to the DSPs. What differentiates yourself? It's called fucking a great record. It's called a great artist and your curation of your brand. And if you are an artist, if you think you could just put out a record and it's just going to be, you got 50,000 people feeling the same thing. So what's going to separate you? But it's the things that I always remember when DMX said, "Get at me, dog." It separated him. When Jay said, "I'm gonna take that Annie sample and do It's a Hard Knock Life." What I mean? When Ludacris said, "What's your fantasy?" When Young Thug didn't even show up for his video, and Wyclef Jean, and it became one of the biggest videos on you. It's Thug putting on a dress. It's the things that that make people have a conversation. And your music's great. Your music, it always starts with the song, but you have to understand that it's about branding and artist development also. So I just think don't take anything for granted. Use all the resources that you have out there. And to everybody who's out here saying, you don't need a label, you don't need this, you don't need that. Steve Jobs didn't do it by himself. Jeff Bezos didn't do it by himself. Mark Zuckerberg didn't do it by himself. All these people had investors and partners. So fuck the word label, fuck the word manager, fuck all of that. What's the value proposition? Can 1 + 1 of us getting together equal 10? That's the thing that people got. Oh, well, you don't need. No, you need all of that shit. You need somebody to invest and believe in you. Don't call it a label. Call it whatever you want to call it. But let's not understand. We do nothing by ourselves. I can't have a family by myself. Arlinda can't have this conference by herself. That's to me is nonsense and positioning by people who don't understand that nothing of scale happens by one person.
So we're about to wrap up, but I didn't want to go without talking about the moment that we have right now. I know that you're very involved politically. I famously remembered when I was in Ohio in the 2012 election, and on election day, you called me and you was like, man, I want to hear no shit about none of these records. All I know is you better get the motherfuckers to the poll. So talk a little bit about where we are in the election right now. We lost, unfortunately, Ruth Bader Ginsburg last night. Now this election has been ramped up. And I think a lot of times in our industry, especially with young people, they don't necessarily are engaged or are paying attention to what's going on and how these elections will determine the generations. So let's talk a little bit about your feeling on this moment and your messaging to those that are watching us right now about how important this election is coming up.
Kobe, it's like it's sad, man, because I think I think we've I remember my grandmother, 94 years old, first time she ever voted in her life was for Barack Obama.
Wow.
We sitting down at Thanksgiving and she said, I can't believe there's a black man in the White House. It was just as simple as that for her. And not just in the White House, but there for 8 years. And we got comfortable. What do you think was going to happen to our country when a black man became the president? There was going to something happen that it wasn't going to be ready for a female president at that time. So love you, Hillary, but this wasn't. So the country got flipped. We didn't come out and vote. And then the people who felt disenfranchised at that time, because the president wasn't their president, they voted. And we lost the election, not because of anything, because Trump is not a great candidate. He's a clown. But the people he ignited voted. So now we all voted 8 years. Now they're there. And the power of your legislative understanding of local government, the Senate. Look what they're going to try to do now and filibuster a new federal judge, whatever the highest ranking judge. They're going to try to do it because they own the Senate. They only own the Senate because we didn't vote. Yeah. We didn't vote. And so and he couldn't do it. He got filibustered because he didn't have the Senate, so he couldn't put somebody there. And so now we're in a position where not only are we fighting to make sure that our Supreme Court is diverse, we're fighting for our country. We're fighting, literally, somebody asked me the other day from Kiati, he said, do you ever think in your lifetime that racism will end? I don't think it's going to end in my lifetime because it's so systemic. And the new form of redlining is happening amongst us at this time. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poor, and these things are happening. And we have an opportunity to level set it by getting out and voting for the polls. And if you take a look at anything that we're doing at 300, you'll see everything's about voting. I'm doing so much individually and through the company and through the artists around getting out and making your voice heard. And so if a president allowing 200,000 people to die when he knew about it, if police brutality that's been happening since Rodney King, and you knew about, and your ass still don't vote,
yeah,
you're not human, yo. You're not human, and you don't give a fuck about the country. You don't give a fuck about yourself. You don't care. I cannot leave this earth and with my kids living with an administration like this. And so this is not, Puppy said it best, vote or die. This is, we're literally dying. We're literally dying based off of people not fucking voting. Literally we cost 200,000 people. Literally dying. We're the strongest, wealthiest country in the world. And we're doing the worst at the pandemic. They open up a city, y'all motherfuckers going crazy. You know what I mean? Not wearing masks, doing it. It's like, come on. And so you sit and you wonder why we are where we are. And so you have the opportunity 45 days from now to start the process. It's not the answer. Changing the president is not the answer, but it's the process, because we got to get the Senate. We got to get, and again, I'm not talking party. I'm talking about people who are in positions to help our people. We have to put those people, and again, I can only say, I pray every day that I'm able to build 300 to a point that the whole world listens and the whole world understands that you can have a company that's socially conscious. You can have a company that's made up of all ethnicities and be successful. You can have that. And that to me is why voting is important. That to me is why I feel we have a very special place. And I feel like it's opportunities like this, I don't come out and talk too much anymore, but opportunities like this that I'm willing to do to ignite a fire and passion into all of you listening, that if you don't do it now, you think 200,000 people down, you saw martial law in Seattle, you see all this shit going down? To go to a church to take a photo op, he fucking, come on, man, like that's your president? No, I'm not about that. And if you can affect your localized government, you got so much to do. Get to know, I told my staff, if you don't know who your local representation is, you can't work at 300. That's how serious I am about it. I get down to so funky with them. Nope. I want to know who's your House representative. Who's that? Go set up a lunch. And people are actively getting involved. And like I said, if I didn't have a special place, some companies say, well, we really can't get into the religion or the parties and blah, 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 blah. I say what the fuck I want to say. No, you have to find yourself within yourself in order to make a difference. And part of it is making sure not only you get out and vote, you get your family to vote, and you make it like it's worth your life. And so that's a mission. I said 300.
And don't just vote for the president. Make sure you vote for do your research on the ballot. Who is on the ballot in your particular area? Vote locally. Every time there's an election, who's on your school board? Who are some of these judges? We talk about the judges that let police officers go after killing, many police officers that are charged with killing people. They don't go for juries, they go for judges. You know why? Because judges more often than not will let them go. But these are people that are elected. Again, do your research. And Kevin, we want to thank you so much, man. It's always awesome to hear you speak your wisdom. He has a book too that he wrote several years ago, which is really a great book. It's really awesome. And a lot of what you're hearing here, you can get into more details. Called Make It Happen. It's available wherever you can get your books. 300 Entertainment, Kev, what y'all got on the plate coming up, man? You've had a really good year so far with some of the biggest artists in the game. What's coming next for the label?
Well, thank you guys so much for supporting Megan Thee Stallion. Her and Cardi, the record that they have WAP out now. Thank you so much, and Megan and Beyonce doing the Savage remix and raising a lot of money for locally in Houston. Thank you so much for the #1 record with Gunna. Thank you so much for supporting the entrepreneurialism of Young Thug and YSL. just dropped Hefe 3, you know, just yesterday from our boy Shy Glizzy, and we have a YSL compilation coming. We have Meg's actual first album coming. I can't give the date, but it's coming. We got a very special surprise for a first single. And going back to work to find that next, you know, artist, and you know, just like Gunna and there's Little Key coming next, and not just doing say one kind of music, but finding relevant cultural people around the world who want to express themselves. And the last thing that I'll say, Kobe, the importance of people not just hearing us talk, but feeling what we're saying, and not just listening to music, but understand that it's made to be medicine to your life and the soundtrack to your life. The importance of not just reading and doing your job, but making your job to humanize and make your decisions based off being a human being, not a record executive, a radio personality, or a conference attendee, and actually, you know, being a contributing citizen to a better world. Please go out and vote. Please make sure that you spend time with your family in true balance. And remember, I told this to my wife last night. I said, you know, Ginsburg died when she was 87. I'm 52. I got 25 years, God willing, or more, hopefully more, 25 years to make a difference and change the narrative. And I've tried and evolved and reinvented my whole life. And I'm going to continue to do it. And I challenge each of you to take that personal ownership in us having a better place to live in around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Liles, thank you so much, man. Thank you, Arlinda, for having us here. This is awesome. And thank you to everybody out there. Give me your social media too, Kevin, because you're very active on Instagram and Twitter. You're always speaking the truth and giving knowledge way beyond just the music business. How can people follow you?
I knew he was going to ask me that. I don't even follow myself. At Kevin Liles, KWL, I think is Instagram, and Twitter is at Kevin Liles1. I think, listen, here's what I tell people about the following thing. Don't follow me if you don't believe in me. The thumbs, likes, things like that. That if you don't believe that together our 1 + 1 can equal 10, don't follow me. I'm cool with that, because I'm out to make a difference. I'm out to change the world. I'm out to actually put something in place where a young kid can look and say, hey, if I'm the best at what I can do, I can be a CEO of my own company. If I'm the best at what I can be a female and be the CEO of my own company. If I'm the best at what I do and I can be in leadership of the Supreme Court. That is called believing. That's not just called following. So at hashtag, all that shit, whatever y'all want to do there, let's just go out and make sure we're making a difference.
Got it. Thank you so much, Kevin.
God bless you.
Arlinda, thank you.
Thank you, Arlinda.
There she is.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kobe. Next up, we're going to have Arlinda come on. Also, attendees, be sure to check the chat. We do have a networking room. The link is in the chat. We do have a networking room available after the conference. The link is in the chat.
Supposed to open me up. I'm ready. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to thank you guys. I had a little technical difficulty. Kevin, wow. So profound. Just when I thought I knew you. You know, we were young together. I remember that Doodoo Brown and Kobe. Oh my God. What a great interviewer. I mean, this is just amazing. Nuggets, knowledge, jewels, diamonds. Woo! Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah, won't he do it? Yes. Okay. Thank y'all. Okay.
God bless you, Arlinda.
Thank you so much. And what a way to end this on such an upbeat, such an upbeat note. It's just amazing, guys. Thank you. I thank God. I just feel so blessed. And whew, girl, y'all. Okay, that's it for me now.